The WNBA continues to get the kind of attention they shouldn't want. All right, again, Colin Cowherd is making a point to talk about the WNBA again. He does it now multiple times a week, but only when it comes to one player, or in this case, one player and what it is the rest of the league is doing to her.
So it looks like the idea of trading Caitlin Clark is no longer just internet chatter. It's becoming a serious topic of discussion. And just as Indiana Fever fans start to catch their breath, sports commentator Colin Cowherd steps in and adds fuel to the fire. Known for his bold takes, Cowherd's latest comments are stirring up major reactions across the basketball world. Is he being overly dramatic? Maybe. But is there some truth to what he's saying? That's where things start to get really interesting.
Caitlin Clark finished 9th in player voting. In fact, she finished behind one of her own teammates in player voting. The pettiness has no bounds. For years, the WNBA players were pointing fingers. They were saying people are sexist, we're not being promoted, we're underappreciated, and then they get the golden goose and they don't like what it looks like. When the wave hits, ride it. They wanted to fly private. They wanted to be more popular. They wanted sold out arenas. They got it. I wouldn't have guessed that Caitlin Clark would be this.
Once again, the WNBA finds itself at the center of controversy, this time with a decision that has fans scratching their heads. Instead of focusing on building stronger rosters or expanding the league's fan base, the latest buzz is about the possibility of trading Caitlin Clark. Yes, you heard that right, one of the most impactful rookies in recent memory is now being casually floated in trade rumors, as if moving her like a chess piece somehow makes sense. But let's be honest, if that ever happened, it wouldn't just upset Indiana fans. It could ignite backlash across the entire league, raising serious questions about leadership and direction.
This is clearly them cutting her down, because when you look at fan voting, obviously Clark is one, right? Because she has the most fans in the league. So that clearly biased. You go to the media voting.
She was 3.
She was 3. That actually makes sense.
I agree. She's not having the best of years this year. She's actually, her shooting is down.
Exactly.
There's been a number of situations that she's just not played her best ball, but she is still much, eons better than a lot of the other players that they voted in front of her.
Let's be real, trading Caitlin Clark wouldn't just impact the Indiana Fever, it could seriously damage the WNBA's momentum as a whole. This isn't just about a talented rookie, it's about the face of a movement. Clark has become the driving force behind a surge in attention, ticket sales, merchandise, and national headlines. She's not simply playing the game, she's elevating an entire franchise, and arguably the league itself, to new heights. Her influence is woven into every storyline that's keeping the WNBA in the spotlight right now.
A university professor in finance looked up the value of Caitlin Clark for the WNBA. This is insane. So this year, last season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark was 26.5% of all economic activity as a rookie on the worst team in the league when she entered it. So now she has an 8-year, $128 million deal with Nike. So, she's going to eat. Merchandise in the league went up off a rookie from a Midwest-based school on the worst team in the league, $230.
Now picture this, taking all that momentum, all that excitement, and simply giving it away. That kind of decision wouldn't just disappoint fans, it could completely derail the progress the league has made. It's the type of move that leaves viewers frustrated, loyal supporters questioning their investment, and casual fans turning their attention elsewhere. There are questionable decisions, and then there are ones that could go down as a major misstep in league history.
I'm not going to ignore, nor am I going to take my eyes off of what transpires with the WNBA over the next 2 weeks while Caitlin Clark is out with the quad strain. And the reason why is because, let me tell you something right now, I'm not going to go to word hate. I'm not going to be out there like RG3 was saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark or other players hate Caitlin Clark. But I will say this, I don't think it's specific about Caitlin Clark. I think it's what Caitlin Clark represents. See, it's through no fault of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark balled. She balled at Iowa in college. She's balled since she's been in the NBA. She came into the league last year with no break whatsoever between the college game and the pro game and did her thing.
But it doesn't stop there. While trade rumors swirl as if the WNBA has a surplus of superstar talent to throw around, another twist has fans raising eyebrows. The same coach who faced criticism for not defending Caitlin Clark during some questionable on-court incidents is now the one calling the shots as her head coach. The irony hasn't gone unnoticed. Imagine turning the person who once stood by during key moments into the leader responsible for guiding your franchise player. It feels less like a strategic hire and more like a calculated move. And the message it sends? It's hard to ignore. Limit the spotlight, control the narrative, and package it as team strategy. But fans aren't blind. They see what's happening. Clark hasn't just been benched. She's been tactically pushed to the margins. And this wasn't just any coaching hire. It was the hire. One that comes with a track record of inconsistent decisions and questionable player management. Let's be honest, Clark and this system don't click. Their styles don't clash. They collide. It's not just a mismatch. It feels like a quiet battle unfolding right in front of us. Every time she's pulled from the game, while lesser known players rack up minutes, it sends a clear signal. Something deeper is at play.
Colin Clark had another, whatever you want to call it, confrontation in a WNBA game. Like, why is this happening? The Caitlin Clark phenomenon is one that I got wrong. I never really thought that Caitlin Clark would make the difference that she has in college basketball or in the WNBA. What other sports analogies are out there that are in any way similar to the impact that one individual has had on a larger sporting universe? Tiger was.
So why would a league that's finally capturing national attention risk making a move like this? The answer for many comes down to one word: control. Control the narrative. Control the rising star. Keep the excitement alive, but not so much that a player becomes bigger than the system. Because when an athlete gains real influence, it can challenge the status quo. That kind of power, it makes some people uncomfortable. And when you can't stop the momentum directly, you hire someone who might be able to slow it down under the guise of player development. But what's really developing here is frustration. Fans are speaking out, and many believe this coaching hire wasn't just about basketball. It was about positioning. It feels less like strategy and more like management optics. Let's be honest, this doesn't look like a standard rookie adjustment period. Caitlin Clark isn't being guided through growth. She's being sidelined carefully, methodically, and without much transparency. And for those watching closely, the signs are clear. This isn't just about minutes on the court. It feels personal, strategic, and yes, political. What's most puzzling is how some are defending this as if it's a cautious or calculated coaching plan, but truly playing it safe would mean utilizing your most talented scorer, not limiting her impact and hoping the fans won't notice.
She doesn't always get the consistent great star whistle. I think they're still kind of figuring out how to officiate her. Right? Like when I've said this for years when I covered Shaq and went to Shaq got fouled more than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, it was insane. People bounced off Shaq. Jokic complains constantly. Like, people are bouncing off me. She doesn't quite get as favorable a whistle as you think. So I think
neither does Steph too. That's the funny.
This isn't about strategy anymore. It's starting to feel like sabotage. Fans see it. Commentators see it. Social media sees it. Even the most casual observer in the stands can sense something's off. Meanwhile, there's a growing belief across the league that moving Caitlin Clark would somehow solve problems, when in reality, it would likely create far more. Just imagine what would happen if she were traded to a team that embraced her talent. A market like Las Vegas or New York would turn her into the face of the franchise overnight. She'd be front and center, boosting ticket sales, headlining promotions, and elevating the league's visibility even more. But keeping her sidelined under the current system in Indiana, that's not just a missed opportunity, it's a slow fade into irrelevance. And yet, the trade rumors continue. But who exactly would benefit from such a move? Certainly not the fans, not the team's performance, and not the league's momentum. Without Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever aren't rebuilding, they're disappearing. She's the reason national broadcasters are covering WNBA highlights more than ever. She's the reason people who've never followed women's basketball are suddenly paying attention. You don't trade a player like that, you build around her. You protect that kind of star power and vision because it's rare, and it's exactly what the league needs right now.
So we all know who Caitlin Clark is. She's the golden goose, laying those golden eggs for the WNBA to prosper. Well, a lot of times we notice that the WNBA is resisting this golden goose and resisting this bump and this force of nature, which is Caitlin Clark. So we're going to dive deep into that. What's behind that? Is jealousy, envy, pettiness, all the above, more than that? We're going to have to go.
If the goal was to stall Caitlin Clark's momentum, benching her would certainly do the trick. And pairing her with a coach she's had visible tension with, that would only amplify the message. All it takes is a polished presentation, press conferences filled with buzzwords like versatility and system fit to make it all look like standard business. But beneath the surface, it feels much more intentional. The entire situation comes across as calculated, as if someone deliberately chose the one coach in the league who could make Clark appear less essential, because at the heart of it, this isn't about development or patience. It's about control. There's a desire to manage the spotlight, to distribute power evenly, and to prevent any one player from becoming too dominant. And let's be honest, Clark has that kind of potential. Every pass, every deep three, every headline, she commands attention, and that disrupts the old guard. The league had a choice. They could have embraced the wave of excitement she brought and built something around it. Instead, it feels like they put up barriers, containing the energy rather than letting it fuel the future. Trading her wouldn't just be a bad basketball decision, it would send a clear message that progress, fan enthusiasm, and rising stars are less important than maintaining the status quo. And the risk? It's not just losing games, it's losing fans. Because when viewers see greatness being mishandled, they don't just get frustrated, they walk away.
So it's the last part of it, the players vote, that I take some exception to. And I'm not a big Caitlin Clark fan. Like, I don't care either way, but they vote her 9. And why I find that absolutely hilarious is you can say she's 9 if you want, but you don't treat her like she's 9. Because when she was here in town, they were picking her up 3/4 court the entire game, and they had her double teamed the entire game. Now, is your shooting efficiency going to go?
So go ahead, keep limiting her minutes. Keep offering vague explanations wrapped in, buzzwords about team development and long-term planning. But if things continue down this path, don't be surprised when attendance starts to fall, ratings begin to slip, and the player at the center of all the attention decides she's had enough, taking her massive fan base with her. And when that moment comes, don't point fingers at the media, the fans, or even Caitlin Clark. The accountability falls squarely on the front office, the coach making those choices, and a league that allowed it all to unfold. At this point, the spotlight on Caitlin Clark is anything but subtle. It feels more like a scripted performance than an honest effort to develop talent. It's almost as if the entire operation, executives, coaches, and decision makers are all following the same playbook: how to diminish a star in 10 games or less. All Clark wanted was to play the game she loves, sign autographs for kids, and help bring pride back to Indiana. Instead, it seems like she's been placed in a system more focused on controlling the narrative than building around her strengths. What's happening doesn't look like a natural adjustment period. It feels like a deliberate attempt to slow her down under the guise of culture building. The reality is, her biggest offense appears to be succeeding too quickly and becoming too popular. And now, the very system that should be celebrating her rise is instead treating her like a threat, not for anything she's done wrong, but simply for being great and for capturing the spotlight in a way that's impossible to ignore.
Caitlin Clark was number 1 among fans, number 3 among media. What do you think she was among players?
Dead last.
She's not last.
Not last, no. But
barely made it to the top 10. So she was 1, 3, and 9. Dick Vitale went off on a whole rant. It is pure jealousy. Someday these players will realize what she has done for them. They now have chartered planes, increase in salaries, sold out crowds, improved TV ratings. Stop being jealous haters on K.
At this point, it barely feels like basketball. It feels like discipline disguised as coaching. And through it all, Caitlin Clark hasn't complained. She's not stirring up drama on social media or refusing to play. She's showing up, doing the work, and staying focused, bringing the same humble, hard-working energy she's always had. But in return, she's navigating a league that seems more uncomfortable with her popularity than inspired by it. Instead of embracing her star power, the environment around her feels more like a series of carefully managed moves designed to contain it. The narrative being sold at press conferences about team identity and long-term growth sounds polished, but what's happening behind the scenes tells a different story. Let's be honest, this coaching hire doesn't feel random. The same coach who previously showed little support during key moments with Clark is now expected to guide her. Development? That's hard to buy. It doesn't feel like a fresh start, it feels like a strategic placement, and the results on the court reflect that tension. The real issue here isn't team chemistry, it's control. It's about reshaping the spotlight, dimming it just enough so the league doesn't feel like it revolves around one player. But here's the thing, it does. Clark is the reason so many new fans are watching, the reason merchandise is flying off the shelves, and the reason national networks are tuning in. Instead of celebrating that impact, it seems like the system is trying to minimize it intentionally, keeping her from becoming the central figure she already is. And if this new culture continues to build around sidelining star power rather than harnessing it, the league might be sacrificing its own growth in the process.
Now let's look at the viewership, right? So I'm looking at here. So before the WNBA, before Caitlin arrived, the WNBA averaged around 300,000 to 400,000 viewers per game on national television, right? 300,000 to 400,000 viewership, right? The 2023 season, they said they saw an average of 367,000 viewers, right? When Caitlin Clark came, with her presence, viewership has increased with some games drawing over 1 million viewers, right? Caitlin Clark's WNBA draft for her drew 2.45 million viewers. That's crazy. So that means these people and what she did in college and bringing them all to the WNBA scale, people are watching the WNBA because of Caitlin.
It's becoming clear some within the league don't want Caitlin Clark's individual greatness to drive the spotlight. Instead, they seem to prefer a carefully balanced image where no one star shines too brightly. The focus is on maintaining a collective identity, not letting one player redefine the conversation. And unfortunately, Clark is being treated more like a temporary guest than a foundational piece. She's front and center when it comes to marketing and media buzz, but when the cameras turn off, it feels like she's being quietly sidelined for standing out too much. And leadership at the highest level, they appear fully aware of what's unfolding. The commissioner isn't. Disconnected, she's right there courtside, watching it all unfold, giving the impression of approval while staying silent during key moments that leave fans questioning the direction of the league. What's happening seems like a coordinated effort to reset the narrative, one that sends a clear message: no player is bigger than the league, unless they perfectly match the image being promoted. And Clark, for all her talent and charisma, doesn't quite fit that mold. She doesn't play with forced intensity or lean into the edgy branding that some others do. She's a fierce competitor with small town values, a rare combination that doesn't align with the version of grit the league seems to prefer. So instead of building around that uniqueness, it feels like the system is working to gradually mold her into something more manageable or force her to break under the pressure. Either way, the message is loud: fit the narrative or get pushed out of frame.
There's a lot of hate on Caitlin Clark, and I think because she's white, because she's a hooper and she's going out there and bust people's ass every single night, and it's this little pretty petite country girl that you're not expecting. Again, she's not super athletic, she's not super big, but boy, can she shoot that ball, and she is must-watch TV. I think when she was hurt a few weeks ago, they said viewership dropped by 52%. You know what I mean? And
I didn't watch. I quit watching the teams.
What we're witnessing isn't just a change in strategy. It feels more like a quiet effort to minimize one of the biggest stars the league has ever seen. It's a slow, calculated reduction of Caitlin Clark's influence on and off the court. The new direction: no more building narratives around breakout players, no more celebrating a single rookie carrying viewership and engagement. The focus now seems to be on collective identity, team unity over individual brilliance. In other words, instead of embracing a rising star, the approach seems to be softening her presence, reshaping her into something that fits a broader mold. And fans, they're noticing. You can hear it in the crowd reactions, see it across social media, and feel it during games. Caitlin Clark is the reason many people are tuning into the WNBA again. She's driving attention, interest, and energy, and instead of fully capitalizing on that momentum, it feels like the system is holding her back before she even reaches her full potential. There's now a strange sense of reserved support. She's active, but not consistently featured, complimented in interviews, yet overlooked during critical moments. Her contributions are acknowledged, but the team isn't being structured around her strengths. It's a conflicting message. Praise on the surface, hesitation underneath. All the while, official statements continue to lean on vague terms like growth, balance, and system development, phrases that sound meaningful but don't reflect the reality fans are watching, especially when one of the league's most impactful players spends key minutes on the bench while the scoreboard tells a different story. What's really happening isn't about basketball development, it's about maintaining control of the narrative, even if it means slowing down the very momentum that could help push the league forward.
When we talk about hatred, when we talk about jealousy, when we talk about pettiness, Caitlin Clark's name always pops up because that's what she receives on a daily basis. And for the players to vote her 9th in guards just lets you know how out of touch they are. And it's not because of her game, it's simply because of those 3 things that I mentioned. She was ranked 1st by the fans, which makes sense. She was ranked number 3 by the media, which kind of makes sense. Anywhere between the 1, 2, or 3rd, that's fine. And then she was ranked 9th by
And here's what makes it all so frustrating. Some decision makers seem to believe fans won't notice that we'll accept vague explanations about balance and development even while watching one of the most talented players of her generation be underutilized by a coaching staff that doesn't seem fully aligned with her strengths. But let's be clear, fans see what's happening. This isn't balance, it's poor execution wrapped in polished messaging. And at some point, Caitlin Clark will have to make a decision. Does she stay in a situation where her impact is limited, or does she look for a team that actually wants to build around her and win at the highest level? Because whether the league admits it or not, its current momentum is deeply connected to her presence. The attention, the energy, the rising interest, it all centers around Clark. She's not just part of the system, she's the force holding it together. If she ever chooses to move on, it won't be a betrayal, it'll be a response. And those who didn't recognize her value until it was gone may be left wondering how they let it all slip away.